Let's go ahead and compute some totals. I'm going to come out here and type in the word total, and I'm going to go ahead and sum these up by rows. Now we've taken a look how to type in text and numbers. It's time to take a look at how to create a formula. In Excel, whenever you want to do some form of calculations, you have to start with an equal sign whenever you're building a formula. So the first thing I'm going to type in is the equal sign. If you don't include the equal sign, Excel will think it's just a bunch of text, and that's what you'll get. It'll just print back out on the screen whatever you've typed in. We start with the equal sign, and that tells Excel to do a calculation. So with this in mind, I'm just going to click on the equal sign and type in a very simple calculation. I'll just type in 5 plus 6 plus 7. And Excel will go ahead and add all of these up and then place the value inside of the cell. I see the result in the cell, but if I click on the cell and look in the formula bar, I can actually see the formula that's used to calculate the cell. At this point, I could come out inside of my formula bar if I like, or I could double click on the cell and I could change this to some other number, and when I press enter, it does that calculation as well. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Start again with my equal sign. This time I'm going to come up and I want to say I want to add up the contents of these cells. Now the way we refer to a cell is we use the column reference followed by the row reference. So we would say this cell is B3. So I'm going to tell Excel I want to take whatever's inside of B3 and add that to whatever's inside of this cell, which is C3, and I'm going to add that to whatever's inside of this cell, which is D3. And I finish it just like that. I don't use the plus sign at the end. It's just equals B3 plus C3 plus D3, and it'll add up whatever the contents are in those various cells. And when I press enter, I get the total value. Now it's important to note that these cells are linked to this formula. That is, if at any subsequent time I happen to come out here and change this number from 10 to say 11, when I press enter, that will be updated inside of the formula. So the formula is constantly looking at these cells, and when I change and make an enter, I can see the change dynamically take effect inside the total. An easier method for entering this type of formula would be just to use the mouse. If I start my formula with an equal sign, instead of typing in B3, I can use my mouse to just click on the cell B3 and it plugs that in for me. I can press my plus key operator, then click on C3, my plus key operator, and then D3. And that's a simpler method of entering a formula by just using your mouse. And still another method for using this simple calculation is to use what's called a function, which is a predefined formula. I can use specifically one called the sum function to sum up rows, columns, discontiguous cells. The sum function just sums up values that you've selected. So let's see how this works. In fact, the sum function is so popular that they've placed it on the Home tab way over here in the editing group right here. It's called AutoSum. And you can use this to automatically sum up items that you'd like. Very simple to use. I will come out here, click on my calculation spot here where I'm going to go ahead and put in my formula, and I'm going to come out here and just click on AutoSum, and it plugs in the sum, and it shows me that it's going to start summing at B3 all the way through D3. Now this notation you see here is called a range. Whenever you see a cell reference, a colon character followed by another cell reference, it says start at this first cell and end at this cell. So it's going to start at B3, end at D3, and it's going to sum up everything inside of there. And when I press enter, it does the summation. Since the sum function is so commonly used, they've given it a shortcut key as well. If I want to go ahead and do a summation, instead of locating the Home tab and then going all the way out to AutoSum, I can hold down my Alt key on my keyboard and then press the equal character, and it will go ahead and plug in the sum function just like before. Now I'm ready to go ahead and fill in for my rows all at once here. Very simple method. Instead of doing these one at a time using the previous methods, I could go ahead and select all of these cells at once and then go ahead and invoke the AutoSum or the shortcut key Alt equal sign, and it will automatically AutoSum all rows at once. I'm going to go ahead and do this with the shortcut key. I'm going to go ahead and click on Alt and then equals, and it just fills all of these in all at once. And I don't even have to go out and touch inside the formula bar or check the formula before entering it. It just goes ahead and sums everything at once. Do this one more time. If I'd like to run totals at the bottom of each month, do the same thing. I could just select these cells underneath each column and then either use the shortcut key or just come up and click on auto sum, and it fills in for me automatically. Now, you don't always have to place your total cell right next to a column or right next to a row to have it pick up and use the sum. I could be out in the middle of nowhere, say out on this portion of the spreadsheet, and if I go ahead and click on auto sum, it tries to do the sum, but it can't see any numbers to the left, right, top, or bottom. But that's okay. I can just go ahead and fill this in myself. I can either come out here and type in something like D3 through, say, E6, and it shows me the range that it's going to go ahead and do the summation on. Another way to go ahead and do this is just to come out and select and drag, and you can just choose range you'd like. So I could come out here and just right inside the sum function just select what I'd like. Try this one more time. This time I'll do my shortcut key, Alt equal sign. It says sum, doesn't know what I want to sum, so I could come out here and I could just click and drag to select this first column. I could hold down my control key and then click and drag the third column, and I could sum up both of these at once. And not even have the two ranges selected that way. And when I press enter, it will go ahead and sum up just those two columns.